In 1982, a researcher walked into a supermarket, changed nothing about the products, nothing about the prices, and nothing about the staff. He just changed the music, and sales went up 38%. Almost $2 million a year for that supermarket from one variable. Now, before you run off and start blasting lo-fi beats in your stores, that number has a bit of a problem. And the problem is actually more interesting than the statistic itself. So here's what happened. A marketing researcher ran a 9-week experiment in the supermarket, published in the Journal of Marketing. He rotated between 3 conditions: no music, slow tempo music around 60 beats per minute, and fast tempo music around 108 beats per minute. When the slow music played, shoppers literally walked slower through the aisles, about 19 seconds slower per aisle. And that extra time translated into more products noticed, more items in the cart, and $4,600 more in daily sales. Now, the wildest part is that he interviewed over 200 shoppers afterwards. None of them noticed. They couldn't even tell whether music had been playing. So the music wasn't persuading anyone. It was adjusting their internal clock without them knowing. Now, if that were the whole story, every retailer would just pipe in slow jazz and call it a day. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2025, a team out of the University of Amsterdam ran the largest music and retail experiment ever conducted. 140 stores, 6 weeks, real sales data tied to actual transactions. And the headline is, "No overall effect. Slow music did not reliably increase sales across 140 stores." That original 1982 finding, the one that launched an entire industry, didn't replicate at scale. But, and this is the most important part that people miss, is when they segmented the data, a pattern appeared. Slow music did increase spending, but only among the loyalty program members. The engaged customers, the ones who were already paying attention to the environment. Casual shoppers, no response at all. So the effect is real, it's just not universal. It depends on who's in the store. Okay, so it's not just slow music equals more money. What's actually happening? A 2012 study in the Journal of Retailing tracked 550 consumers across 2 stores in Sweden. They tested the most basic question, music versus silence, and the answer was clear. Any music at all added 8 minutes of dwell time and significantly more spending compared to silence. So, step 1, music mattered. But why it mattered is where it gets useful. A 1994 study in the Journal of Retailing measured shoppers' emotional states just 5 minutes into a shopping trip. And what they found is that pleasure, measured at the 5-minute mark, predicted how much people overspent. Not what they planned to buy, but how much they spent beyond what they planned. A follow-up study in psychology and marketing confirmed this with a larger sample. The environment to purchase pathway runs through emotion. Impulse buying is an emotional event, not a cognitive one. You don't impulse buy because you evaluate the product. You impulse buy because the environment made you feel a certain way. And music is one of the most direct layers on that emotional state. So here's where this actually lands. 3 things the research actually tells us. 1, playing music is table stakes. Music versus silence is a settled question. If you're running a retail store without intentional audio, you're leaving the easiest 8 minutes of dwell time extension on the table. 2, the simple prescriptions are just wrong. Just play slow music doesn't hold up at scale. The 2025 study with 140 stores proved that. What matters is whether the music matches the customer segment that's actually in your store at the moment. 3, the mechanism is emotional, not rational. Music drives revenue by shifting the emotional state of the shopper in the first 5 minutes. If you're optimizing for the wrong feeling, or worse, not optimizing at all, you're missing the lever that actually moves the needle. This is exactly why we built Entuned. Not to play a playlist, but to treat music as a real-time adaptive variable that responds to what's actually happening in the store. Because the research is clear, music affects sales. But only if you get the how right. If you want to see how the rest of the research stacks up, and there are over 28 peer-reviewed studies on this, I'm breaking them all down on this channel. Subscribe so that you don't miss the next one. And if you want to hear what this actually sounds like in practice, Entuned has a free tier. It's limited, but it's free forever. and you can get your hands on it and hear what research-driven music actually feels like in a real store. Head to entuned.co, E-N-T-U-N-E-D. The link is in the description.